Alright, welcome back to the Noble Arms Manual. In this chapter, we're going to look at how to construct a United Noble Knight deck. And in part 1, we are going to focus on the normal summons. Now, I mentioned that there are 3 normal summons in the last chapter. Those are Boars, Midrite, and Ogier. So how many of each do you want to run? Well, this depends. However, the general accepted knowledge is that you want to run a total of 7. Some people do push up to 8, but right around 7, 8 is where you optimize your odds of seeing exactly 1 in your opening hand and no more. So if you want to go 7, this means you can either go 3-2-2 or 3-3-1. Now, your first instinct might be to max out on Midrite first, as the best of them, and some do. However, Midrite has one key problem. Because he must be the only monster on the field to use his effect, it means you have to commit the normal summon relatively early on, or risk being locked out of his effect if you want to use generic extenders. It also means he directly competes with Dai, or Red Layer, which is the Fire Warrior equivalent that we prefer in some builds. Midrite, therefore, is a weird situation where if, for example, you have Rhoda in hand and you are trying to decide which normal summon to go for because you didn't open one, depending on the rest of your hand, despite Midrite being the most powerful option if he resolves, he may not be the safest option, and in general you want to play as if you expect to be hand-trapped at some point in your combo. Midrite being hand-trapped can be devastating. For that reason, a lot of people have pushed him down in quantity and are instead using him as a comeback card to be resolved on turn 3 if you got board wiped, or as something they will pick off the Rhoda if their hand is good for it. So, that being said, do we want him at 2 or 1? Well, that really depends on the others. Boars is the safest of the normal summons. As long as you have an equip spell, he can either set up your once agains if you have other ways to extend, or if you don't, he can target 3 Durandal to guarantee you get 1 into Flint Lady. Because Boars, if he resolves, will always result in combo, but has the option to flex into others, and is not agnostic to other extenders, Boars is starting to be maxed out more and more. I personally run 3 Boars and 3 Ogier. Now, Ogier is like Boars in that he's a much safer normal summon. He is the most compatible normal summon with your other extenders. Boars is compatible with any generics as well as Gawain and Dai, but Ogier adds Renaud into that mix. Ogier just doesn't set up as powerful a turn 3 as Boars does, the trade-off being that with Renaud, he sets up an alternate way into Gearfried. So if you're going to run 2 Midrout, you're going to cut either Ogier or Boars down to 2. I think Boars is the more common cut to run 3 Ogier, 2 Midrout, 2 Boars. But I am liking 3 Ogier, 3 Boars, and 1 Midrout, or Midrite is the other way you can pronounce that card. So going forward, we're going to take these 7 normal summons and build from here. However, if you want to run a different mix of them, feel free. This is just to discuss the general way you think about your normals and why you would run which ones you do. The next thing we're going to do is just to make sure we're allocating space, we're going to add in any mandatory combo pieces that we need to resolve our primary turn 1 combo. For this build, that's going to be Baby Rock, Coltwing, and we need Despot 001. And we just want to get those in here to make sure we have those. And then we're going to follow it up with anything else that we deem mandatory to building a deck. So, of the army, you're going to want to run it in any warrior deck, so let's throw one of those in. Heritage is always going to be a 3 of. We want 2 once again, we know that for a fact, so we're just going to throw 2 of those in. Durandal, Living Fossil, we want one of those. Gearfried. So we're just going through cards that we know we're going to want to max out of in this deck. And the reason we want to get those out first is because we want to see how much space we have left at the end to play with. So I'm actually also going to go ahead and, now that I have those in, I'm going to add what I would consider the must-have extenders for my build. And this might change depending on your preferences, but these are what I would always run. So I'm going to run 3 Renaud, I'm going to run 3 Oliver, 1 Magus, I'm going to run Unexpected Die, I'm going to run Vanilla Artorias to go with the die. What else do I find absolutely mandatory? We're going to need more equip spells, but we'll get to that in a second. Nothing else. Oh, a Flint Lady. I definitely want a Flint Lady, so that's got to go in there, of course. And you can see we're kind of just thinking, what must I have? I must have a Brothers because I like the ability to recycle, so we'll get one of those in. Stuff like that. And at this point, we're kind of reaching all the key moving parts of the deck. The deck is starting to resemble where it will end up. So we're going to go from here, and the next thing we're going to do is decide on our equip spells. And the logic here really is, do you want mill 9? So let's touch on that real quick. Mill 9 is a term we use to refer to the ability to summon Gearfried off of Isolde by sending 9 equip spells. Now the downside to this is you're running more equip spells than is really optimal. If you wanted to optimize yourself, you'd run 7 equip spells, 4 names typically, or maybe 5 names depending. Because of those 7, you want 3 to be Durandal, so 5 names in total. This optimizes your chances of seeing exactly 1 without saying more, just like with your normal summons. It's the exact same math. You want to see, exactly 1, but it means you can only resolve Isolde once without recycling unless you go for those level 1s, and it locks you out of Gearfried. So is summoning Gearfried worth it? Well, to many people, yes, but it's a personal decision and not all builds need to do it, especially if you're going something like Neospace Connector to rip hand traps. You may not find it as important. But what Gearfried off Isolde does is it means that anytime you have a tuner in hand, and therefore you don't need to summon a tuner off of Isolde, you can get Nibiru Protection out as your 4th summon. 2 materials for Isolde herself, and Gearfried. Then equip her either with an equip spell you have lying around, or Phoenix Blade, stuff like that. The reason this is so powerful is Gearfried threatened off Isolde basically has to be negated, but it also isn't impactful if it is negated, because if they don't negate it, you have hand trap protection, and if they do negate it, well, you're only doing that if you don't need Isolde to resolve anyway, so you used up the hand trap. Now, this doesn't protect from Imperm on the Auroradon, but other hand traps it does. It's a very, very good power play, very potent. I like it, not mandatory. So, I'm going to be running it, therefore let's add some equip spells. And I really like having Phoenix Blade as my other equip spell because it guarantees I can always get Gearfried live on 4. Some people don't find it necessary. I like it. And then we're going to fill out the rest, and we have our 2 generics. I'm not running Power Tool, so I don't need DDR. So we're just going to go into Noble Arms. And I said 7 is the number for if you're not doing mill 9. If you are, you want 10 names. And you want 10 names so that even if you open a non-Durandal equip, you can still resolve it. So we are at 3 names right now. So we need 7 more. Coincidentally, there are 8 Noble Arms to choose from. There's 8 additional Noble Arms to choose from. So we're going to grab 1 each of the new ones because they're the best. In for Noble Arm. So we're going to grab a Hawkflare. And then, let's see, I know I want Excalibur, I want Forgotten Destiny, I want the ability to direct attack, and I want a free tier. And that should put me at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I also am going to take a Caliburn and put it in the side for time. If you'd rather just main this and free the side slot, cut one of these. You don't need them all. They're not, mandatory. I like to have them. Okay, so now we have all of our equip spells. We have our must-have cards. We have our normal summons. What do we do next? Well, let's toggle back. Oops, I did not mean to save over that. Oh well, let's toggle back to a different one then and look and see what the differences are. Here we have a bunch of extenders filling out the gaps. And if we look at this list, I believe we have hand traps. So you're starting to see hand traps and utility. So what fills those empty slots? Well, the answer is extenders and disruption cards, depending on what you want, or a supplementary engine. So I'm going to start by adding some more, not must-have, but liked extenders and utility knights. I like having Gawain, so I'm going to add that. I'm going to add Ektar, because I like having access to him. I already have, these three are my favorite utility knights. I'm content to just stick with those three. So I'm feeling pretty good there. Let's take a look. Did I miss something particularly critical? Well, typically here we would actually add Glory, but I'm not running Glory anymore. So I might look back at, and that's what this slot leaves. And the reason I knew that Glory was the missing thing is that we have 9 flex slots to work with left, generally, when we build this deck. So if I wanted Glory, I'd put it to 51. I actually don't want Glory here, so we are not going to add that. I also am not going to show the Therian's engine here. I'm going to show that in a future chapter. So I think what we're going to do is fill those 12 slots with extenders, that generic warrior extenders and or hand traps. So let's start by getting another Flint Lady, and an Astolfo, and a Shade Brady. I can now fit 3 playsets of hand traps if I want it, if the format supports them. And you see at this point it really becomes more about, what do you want to do? If you want hand traps, go ahead, toss in 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Ghost Ogre, whatever, Trolls. If you want power cards, maybe you'll do Droplets, Triple Tactics, and Cosmic if your locals is very back row heavy or something, where the format, this might be good for this format because Scythe Lock is countered by Cosmic and Droplet. So stuff like that. At this point in the deck building process, you really have room to flex, and for locals play, you're going to build for what you're likely to face. For competitive play, you're going to build for the format. Right now, I would probably lean something like Droplet Cosmic Extender, because you need a Scythe counterplay, but other than that, you'd rather just play through stuff, so I might choose to end somewhere like another Shade and 2 Arborea, maybe. This is maybe where I would build for this moment in time, though, I'm not going to be playing this deck on paper until the Therian's release in 2 weeks anyway. But yeah, that's kind of how you build the deck out, and that lets you kind of get a feel for what you want to do. Once you've done that, your side is your typical siding rules, except you want to build to side very heavily for your worst matchups, and your extra deck is pretty standard. So we're going to want 2 Isolde. We're just going to go into the Noble Knight stuff to get all of that. 1 each of the XCs, 1 Captain Roland, 1 Charles, 1 Highland Swain if you want it. For combo pieces, you're going to need Baron, and I'll show these combos in a moment. Now the key thing to remember here is, here's your root, and then what you're adding to it is everything that you use for the combo that's relevant in the format. So, I need Halqifibrax and Auroradon, but if those get banned, the format might change. So we need Balgam, we have Riser Dragon, we need Cupid Pitch, and we need Desert Locust. So this is the full extra deck required for the combos as they stand right now on May 8th, 2022. The 15th slot can be flex. It can either, a lot of people run Lancelot in it. I actually just like access code for more removal in turn 3. Yeah, the extra deck is pretty standard, but if the combos change, you simply alter this to fit whatever combos you're running. With Battles of Chaos, some people are shifting towards Plague Spreader combos using Immortal Dragon. I'll probably add a chapter to teach those, and if you're doing that, you just adjust this part of the deck building process to that. So yeah, we'll finish up with a side deck. My locals is very back row heavy, so I already have my Cosmics in main, but I really want Lightning Storm in there. I would like a red reboot, and then I'm going to add Dark Ruler maybe. We have some combos coming up, or even better, actually maybe I want Nibiru for combo, and Dimension Barrier, or whatever it's called, Barrier, because Albaz is everywhere now. Stuff like that. You just decide what works. So let's say I built that. Standard siding rules apply. The trick is that you're going to be siding heavily, so those 9 flex slots we filled at the end, expect to side many or all of them out pretty regularly. You might also say going second, you're not likely to be milling 9, so maybe you side out equip spells, or you side down, go down to one of these, or you side out normal summons. I'll make a chapter on siding, but it's something to bear in mind even at this stage in the process. So, with that, hopefully you have a general overview on how the deck building process for United works, how you think your way through it. I will go to the next chapter where we start to look into actually playing the deck.